Without objection.
Mr. President, I rise this afternoon in pursuit of justice for the black men and black women abducted, beaten, and killed during the segregation era in the American South and in retaliation for their participation in the civil rights movement. I rise today, Mr. President, to ask that the Senate pass the Civil Rights Cold Case Investigations Support Act to secure justice and pursue truth for the victims of those atrocities, for the victims of civil rights cold cases, and for their families. Justice for folks like Alfonso Harris, a member of the SCLC who was murdered in Albany, Georgia in 1966. Justice for Ernest Hunter, who was killed in a physical altercation at the Camden County Jail in St. Mary's, Georgia in 1958. Justice for Caleb Hill, Jr., who was dragged at night from a Wilkinson County jail in Middle Georgia in 1949 and shot to death by a lynch mob. Decades may have passed, but the pursuit of justice cannot and will not end, Mr. President. And I sat down in Wilkinson County a few months ago with Caleb Hill Jr.'s descendants. And in his name, they demand justice. By passing the Civil Rights Cold Case Investigations Support Act, and by doing it with the support of Democrats and Republicans in the United States Senate, we will demonstrate that the United States will never rest in the pursuit of truth and justice for those who were lynched, abducted, beaten, killed, and assaulted in the segregation-era South and during the civil rights movement. I thank Senator Cruz for his original co-sponsorship of this bipartisan legislation, and all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for bringing us now to a point where, after much work, I hope that we can pass this legislation with bipartisan support. So, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 451, S. 3655.
The clerk will report.
Calendar number 451, S. 3655, a bill to amend the Civil Rights Cold Case Records Collection Act of 2018 to extend the termination date of the Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board.
Without objection, the Senate will proceed to the measure.
I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.